Don't you think it would have been important for the Congress to know back in January when we were first briefed on this Trump dossier that it was actually paid for by the opposition party? So the people that made the Russians successful are the Democrats and the people who have continued this nonsense over and over and over again, looking for Russians behind every tree.
The chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Devin Nunes, giving his thoughts on the fake news anti-Trump dossier that was funded by the Clinton campaign and the DNC. Only one of those scandals now surrounding the entire Democratic Party, Hillary Clinton, the media, the other being, of course, the Uranium One deal involving allegations now of bribery and corruption and kickbacks and all sorts of other things. Joining us now, well, he was the first person to expose the Uranium One issue, the author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, Clinton Cash. He's also the president of the Government Accountability Institute, Peter Schweizer. Is it worse than what you knew at the time, in as much as how the government actually knew about all of these crimes committed by Putin operatives inside the country? Did you know that part of it?
It is. Yes, it is, Sean, although I'll say it's very interesting to see what this witness is going to tell us about bribery, because it's worth recalling that Uranium One, this company, started in 2005, and it started when the Clintons helped this Canadian billionaire acquire uranium assets in Kazakhstan. Bill Clinton went over there. He sweet-talked the dictator Nazarbayev. What was Hillary Clinton's role? Well, we actually have testimony in the form of a deposition from the guy running the Kazakh uranium program at the time, Mukhtar Zakashev, and he says that the Kazakh prime minister went to the U.S. Senate, wanted to meet with Hillary Clinton, who was on the Senate Armed Services Committee, and she refused to meet with him until the uranium concession was granted. Wow. So we already have this case of pressure, and then after Justra got this uranium concession, he gave $30 million to the Clinton Foundation.
And is there any chance that money was washed through Latvia or some other place, and it was actually Russia paying the Clinton Foundation? Because that's where, if we know there's money laundering.
Yeah, that comes later. That's part of this, the current scandal that I think the eyewitness is going to testify to. But the point is that we already have testimony from foreign government officials that there was pressure. We know that as soon as Justra got this uranium concession, he sent his first donation ever, $30 million to the Clinton Foundation, and it sort of took off from there. So when Hillary Clinton says in 2010, a couple of years later, Uranium One, this Russia deal, I didn't know anything about it. She was intimately involved with this company over the last 5 years, and we have testimony of foreign officials saying so.
Let me bring in former Deputy Assistant to the President Trump, Sebastian Gorka. I did mean to introduce you, and I just got ahead of myself, as I often do. I apologize. Dr. Gorka, I want to look big picture here, and I thought Sarah Sanders said this very well, and I take it a step further. Everything that they tried to say about Donald Trump and his campaign, they are guilty of, but I'll add, on steroids and human growth hormone, that they sold out America's security in this case. Give me the big picture takeaway from this, because now the media has gone silent on Russia, virtually silent.
Here's the big picture takeaway, Sean. For more than a year, the fake news industrial complex and the Democrats and Hillary and Podesta and Ben Rhodes have been slinging filth against the president and against his team. None of it has stuck. But in the last week, we have had an explosion of scandals that all are true and that all go back to the DNC and to Hillary. And the trouble is, Sean, you have to do a massive service because you're the only people. It's you, it's Sarah, it's Solomon, it's Peter. But that's it. And there's so many scandals, we have to separate them. Number one, there's the Uranium One deal. That's treasonous, okay? We have to deal with that. Second, there's the dodgy dossier, which is about Russian disinformation being used to slander Donald Trump. And then, thirdly, there's James Comey using that disinformation to create a special prosecutor trigger that is used to investigate the president. And then lastly, the fourth story is Fusion GPS. How many stories are out there that are fake, that came from Moscow and which were peddled by Fusion GPS into the left-wing media. So that's 4 scandals in 1 week, Sean.
The Russians lied to impact the election. The Russians infiltrated our national security and to corner the uranium market, and they succeeded, and they knew all the crimes that were committed.
If this had happened in the 1950s, there would be people up on treason charges right now. The Rosenbergs, okay? This is equivalent to what the Rosenbergs did, and those people got the chair. Think about it. Giving away nuclear capability to our enemies, that's what we're talking about.
All right, last word, our friend Peter.
Well, look, I think it's going to be amazingly important for that information to be preserved by the FBI. I think this eyewitness needs to be protected, and I think we're going to see a lot more coming out on Clinton pay-to-play. And I think Greg Jarrett is right. There's major legal problems for the Clintons when it comes to violating federal law.
I got to tell you, it is the most unbelievable. It's almost, if it was a novel, I wouldn't believe it. It takes you that far. Selling out national security, them literally using Russian lies to impact the election, propagandizing the American people. You guys have been phenomenal. Good work. We're going to stay on it. Thank you both.